What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Slam Sessions live on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I don't want to, sit here and say this is going to be a super long live stream. I don't even know how many people are really even going to tune in because it's Thanksgiving, and I understand that people are definitely spending this day with their friends and their families and their loved ones. King Kaido, what's up, buddy? How are you? Andy Ruiz, welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. Happy Thanksgiving to the both of you guys. So I kind of just started off, really quick just by saying that Ron Hawthorne, happy Thanksgiving, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just wanted to come on here and say the same to you guys. 2020 has been a hard year for us all. As a content creator, it's been a bit of a drag for me because, as many of you guys know, I usually do our live streams every Monday with Dave, and Dave and I lost our space for a while to do a lot of the stuff that we wanted to do. So, Mr. J, how are you, man? Thank you for dropping by. For a while, as you can see, Dave's videos have changed from the way they used to be due to the A, COVID restrictions, and then B, the both of us losing our space to where we would normally do our shows. Jay Marshall, how are you, man? Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. 2020 was a bit of a struggle. I had laptop issues. I had I had a lot of things going on, but the one thing I can say that has been a constant since I started this channel is that I have a very supportive group of followers, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. And that's really one of the main things that I'm thankful for. And I really wanted to come on here today and talk wrestling with you guys for a little bit, maybe like a half an hour to an hour, because it's Thanksgiving this year. So the only people I'm going to be spending Thanksgiving Day with are my parents and my girlfriend. So I got to help my mom out and make some delicious food and such. But let's talk some wrestling. Ron Hawthorne, I like the way War Games is shaping up. I didn't see the Tony Storm turn coming at all. And I love all things Tony Storm. So I'm really excited to see what NXT has in store for Tony Storm as a heel. I'm very glad she got back to coming over to the United States in order to work here and be able to really take the place of, in terms of star power, that Rhea Ripley's probably going to be voiding when she inevitably seems like she's getting called up to the main roster. I'm getting ready to put my nephew through a Thanksgiving table. Look, Mr. J, if you want to do that, that's cool. Just make sure there's no food on there or that the food's already done. This way you guys got a place to eat. Then I'm all for it. Hopefully your nephew is cool with taking a table bump. Andy Ruiz, to be honest, I haven't been either. Hey, hi, what's up, man? How are you? I haven't been watching a lot either. I've been falling behind. I'm almost I watched Raw, but I'm behind on SmackDown. I'm still a little bit behind on NXT. Ben Espinoza, how are you, buddy? I'm trying my best to keep up. I did see Survivor Series. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I had a nice little exchange about The Undertaker recently. That was showing how toxic people on Twitter can be, but that's always fun. And King Kaido, yes, always happy to see Kushida get the respect he deserves. I think the injuries really slowed down what his progress would have been right now, but I think he's one of the only guys I really consider a tippy top guy right now in NXT. Andy, I like AEW. I really do. But there's nothing that draws me to tell me that I need to watch every week. And when something big happens, I usually do watch. But the last episode I watched was the full late dinner debonair episode, and since then there hasn't been anything that keeps me there. And it's partially I think it's COVID, because I don't they've had to change a lot of their booking and stuff like that, and the world title matches and stuff due to people getting sick and stuff like that. The other part of it is that I just don't there's nothing that grips me anymore. Like there's nothing that tells me, Albert, you have to watch AEW every week. But then this isn't an indictment on AEW. This is almost every wrestling show. I think Raw and SmackDown have gotten so much better from where they were a year ago. But it's still, nothing's really giving me a must-see vibe in WWE outside of The Fiend and Roman Reigns and a little bit of Drew McIntyre, but even still, not even fully there. I know, look, I get it. Taker and Sting in the Boneyard match. Happy Thanksgiving, True Sinister. Would have been great, but you know what? I'm glad that Taker went out when he wanted to go out. It's one of those things where I get. Here's the thing. I know a lot of people were mad about Sting versus Triple H, and I'm not even talking about the outcome because that withstanding was ridiculous. But the idea that they had that match first made sense to me because I kind of feel like what their idea was. We have Sting now. We have him he signed like a 2 or 3 year contract. They didn't predict that, that Buckle Bomb was going to do that much damage to him and then he'd never be able to wrestle again. So with that being said, I think that the idea was to do a very long build for Undertaker versus Sting at WrestleMania the year after, and they never got the chance to do it. So here's the thing. I hope that Undertaker stays retired. Dave points out a lot. Now, Dave hates Shawn Michaels. But the one thing I agree with Dave about Shawn was that Shawn, for a very long time was that guy who, he was that guy who retired and didn't come back. And Dave respected that, and then he did come back and have that one match. And I hope Undertaker doesn't do it. Undertaker's retired about 6 times, but this is like his official retirement. Let's see. Andy Ruiz, I agree that storytelling to a point is very much missing in AEW. Andy, I don't know if Triple H is egotistical. He might be, but I can't comment on that because I've never met him, so it's hard to say. And Ron, yeah, look, I've watched a bunch of full episodes of Dynamite since then. My thing was that, that was a very big benchmark for AEW. I think that, it looked like the Dark Order was actually turning around, and now they've just gone back to being just a very badly booked faction. Everybody talks crap about Retribution. And don't get me wrong, I'm not defending WWE's booking of Retribution, but you cannot sit there and say, oh my God, the WWE books Retribution so bad. Look at how AEW books things. They've booked the Dark Order maybe worse than Retribution. What stars they have? There's not many. I mean, not many. I don't like how serious the build-up was. Triple H was saying only for the match to be silly. And yeah, just look, the match wasn't good. It was cool seeing DX versus the NWO. I was very, very cool with that. I just didn't understand why the NWO would come out to defend Sting. That was their biggest rival. So that part didn't really make sense. But I got the idea. It's WWE versus WCW. Oh, I understand it. But come on. Like that whole match was, it was trash. It really was. And Sting should have won. And you know me. Actually, I take that back. You guys know me. I do criticize WWE when they deserve it. So, I will say the guys who stay retired gain a lot of my respect. And King Kaito, I agree. But it's very hard. Look, think about it this way. If you're Shawn Michaels and you're retired and, you're like, I'm happy with my career, but they wave millions of dollars in your faces and say, hey, work for a half hour. Are you going to say no? Because I'm probably not. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, Jay Marshall, I agree. Look, the women's division has been a mess and in AEW. I'm more mad that Shawn came back at the wrong event. I mean, yeah, I get that too. I know that a lot of people are mad about Saudi. I don't care about Saudi. They do shows there. I think it's very nice that they actually give the Saudi fans something to watch because they don't have anything. So I'm glad that they entertain them. I don't care about the government. Like the whole government thing is like, how could you do that? The government here in the United States is corrupt too. Every government's corrupt. They're doing the show for the fans, not for corrupt governments. No, and King Kaito, I agree. Retribution is getting better, and a lot of it is because of how good of Ali is. And I like Team Taz, Jay Marshall. I don't like Ricky Starks' promos. I think that a lot of people are very overhyping him. I think he's getting there, but he's not there yet. But outside of that, I think they're pretty good. Oh, yeah, no, every match that Ali and Ricochet have is good. It's so clearly biased. Can they just be honest about bad booking in AEW? Oh, Andy Ruiz, don't worry. Meltzer and Alvarez will tell you that they decide that, that they don't like AEW sometimes and they critique them. But then, Brian Alvarez also said something along the lines of, like he wasn't, comparing somebody else's leukemia to Roman Reigns and making fun of Roman Reigns' leukemia when he obviously did. So, look, Brian Alvarez is a piece of shit in my book. And I don't care who knows it. And I don't care if he knows it. He probably doesn't know who the hell I am, and that's fine. I wish I didn't know who he was. That's just my opinion. The difference between Retribution and the Dark Order is that the Dark Order actually plays into them being considered a joke, or Retribution. Yeah, I mean, I get that, AI, but the thing is that they should be a serious faction. There's no reason why they should be considered a joke, and that's bad booking on their AEW's end. EJK, what's up, man? How are you? And True Sinister, I agree with that too. Taker never, ever explicitly said he was retiring at any point up until right now. This is the only time he ever said he was retiring. We all just assumed he was retiring. So some wrestling fans fail with empathy at times. Andy Ruiz, a lot of wrestling fans fail in a lot of different ways. And sometimes, hey, you know what? I like that some fans try to be positive, but I hate that most fans try to be negative. And I'll definitely get into that with this Undertaker thing in a couple of minutes. Because, guys, really quick, what did you guys think about the Undertaker's retirement, the ceremony and everything? Just, the Survivor Series Undertaker retirement thing. What was your guys' opinion? Taker, let's see. Wrestling needs it's Nirvana. Yeah, Mr. J, I agree. AEW is still looking for it. I think that it could have been Kenny Omega, and I think they kind of messed with Kenny Omega a little bit, but maybe they'll get him back. I like T-Bar too, True Sense. I like everybody in Retribution. I'm still not sure why they're not telling us who half of them are when we know who they are, but whatever. I mean, there's a reason behind it. I mean, whatever. I agree, Starks. Yeah, he'll get there, Jay. He'll definitely get there. They're trying to redo the DX invading WCW. Yeah. I just don't agree with Dave Meltzer's vision of what wrestling should be. I agree, Andy Ruiz. Look, here's the thing. Everything that Meltzer says is opinion-based. And his opinion is always that, pure wrestling is the best thing ever. And to a point, I agree with some of that. Like, Bret Hart, is very big on that. I'm rereading Bret Hart's book. I'm actually almost done with it. And he always says that good wrestling drives you to the top. And I agree. But the thing that gets people there, the wrestling might keep people there. But the storylines get people there. Let's see. I think it was all right. I think it was well deserved. The ceremony could have happened on a Raw. They could have let the wrestlers talk. Yeah, but like what? I mean, like what were they going to say? I mean, I'll give you if they were going to intersplice clips with the certain people doing like a thank you Taker thing. I would have been okay with that. But that also could be on a YouTube channel. I don't need that on TV either. I miss ballets and wrestling. I do too, Mr. J. I 100% do. Okay, you know what? Look, if you King, if you don't like Baron Corbin, that's on you. That's cool. And JMO, I agree. I like that who they had come out, and I like that they had them come out to pay homage to Undertaker. Just about every time I hear some toxic bullshit. Yeah, Ron Hawthorne, yeah, 100%. Mostly it comes from Meltzer and Alvarez. What was the point of the legends appearing for Undertaker's retirement, even though they left quickly? Do you think that was a waste of time? But no, I don't. I think it was great. We're in a time of social distancing. The idea of look, and look, I'll get into it now. Yes, I am wearing a Friends shirt. I just woke up. Just throwing that out there. Whatever. I don't care. EJK, please elaborate on what you mean by you wish they would have booked it better. Is that a critique on overall, like you wish they would have just done it better, or do you wish that it would have been at a different time because of COVID and stuff like that? Because I understand the look, I get the sentiment. This was it was great. Didn't understand why they made the legends leave though. They had brought the legends. See, here's the thing, Mr. J, and look, this is where I'm going to get into. So somebody had commented on something. I believe it was Conrad Thompson. They tweeted to Conrad Thompson about the Undertaker retirement. They're like, it's missing something. It's missing something. It's missing something. And the thing it was really missing was the fans, in my opinion. And Mr. J, I get what you're saying. But we're in the times of COVID, and the time was right. Taker wants to hang up the boots. They've been doing this whole Last Ride documentary thing that has been going on since WrestleMania almost with Taker's retirement, and this was when they wanted to do it. Unfortunately, they couldn't get everything opened up in time, so they had to do it, in front of, and they did it in front of an audience. It was an audience on screen in the Thunderdome, but I do get the sentiment that, like, hey, maybe it should have been in front of an audience. But by that same point, they couldn't do it, and the timing was right. Dragging it on for even more would have been way too long ago, way too long for me. But by that same point, this guy came out on Twitter and he was talking about, it was missing something. And even Kevin Nash, tweeted back at him and said, how do you, honor the, pretty much who is probably one of the greatest, to ever do it and have it seem like it's enough, because it's never going to feel like enough because he's one of the best ever. And then, but, by that same point, I was like, look, and I wasn't specifically saying, and this is where, of course, everything went downhill, because this is how Twitter works. They see one part of your tweet, and then when you put something afterwards, then all of a sudden, they don't see that, and they rip into you about the first line that you wrote. But what I wrote was that fans got mad at Vince McMahon and WWE when COVID started, and they weren't taking COVID seriously, and people got people were getting we're getting the virus, and they weren't taking precautions and stuff like that. And now they want everybody out there to shake Undertaker's hand. One doesn't correlate with the other. Then everybody, the other thing that everybody was, complaining about was Bray Wyatt should have appeared. Look, I'm going to get into this in a little bit, but Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker are nothing alike, and I'm tired of everybody being like, they should have passed the torch. There is no torch. Bray Wyatt, we'll do it right now. Bray Wyatt is I guess, bipolar, or has multiple personalities. And he wears a mask, and then he's his Firefly Funhouse guy and everything like that. And his character's a little dark, but The Undertaker is an undead Lord of Darkness. Those two characters aren't anywhere near the same. Just because they have like elements of like this, maybe the supernatural in some ways, doesn't mean their characters are anywhere near the same. So I don't understand this whole passing of the torch thing. What torch are we passing? No one will ever be The Undertaker ever again. No one will ever be The Undertaker ever again. And AI, why? Why would you do that? There's no payoff to it. Taker's done. He's retiring. If Bray does that, everybody's going to be like, well, now I want to see Undertaker versus Bray. They set it up. They teased it for us, and now they just didn't give it to us. Typical WWE booking. That's what the complaint's going to be. I don't want things that can't happen. I want to see things that can. If Bray would have came out and tried to interrupt it, and then Kane would have fought Bray and they would have had a match, okay, Kane's not retired. I guess I can see it. He's standing up for his brother, but then that takes away from The Undertaker's retirement. Ric Flair was the same thing. When Flair retired, nobody was asking for anybody to kick him in the mouth. They were like, let's celebrate Ric Flair's career. Why can't we just be the same with The Undertaker? We should have just said, hey, and that's exactly what they did. They celebrated The Undertaker's career. I think they did great. Now, this is where, in Andy Ruiz, this is where, this is where I'm kind of getting with this. If, and King Kaido, I get it. Shawn had a retirement match. Taker did. Taker technically had a retirement match. The Boneyard match was his retirement match. They just never officially stated that it was. I don't know why. Exactly. I don't want to see Undertaker wrestle again. I'm done. He's good. And you know what? The match wouldn't live up to the expectation. It probably would have been another, what's it called? Cinematic match. And here's the thing. Everybody was like, Undertaker could do these cinematic matches forever. No. The one that he did makes it so much more special that he only did one. True Slayer said that's the better match. It's so much of the better match. I want to see the Fiend versus the Demon. That's the better match. Exactly, King Kaido. He's also doing so good on his own. He doesn't need to attack The Undertaker. He doesn't need the rub from him. He's already the best thing going in WWE outside of Reigns. So getting back to the whole Twitter thing now. So now I also, so those are the two things I wrote. And I said, but the fact is that a lot of people, I don't want Undertaker to be kayfabe dead. He should live forever. He's that character. He shouldn't die. Exactly, True Center. So that's the other thing that everybody's, kind of not getting. I would say he's not exactly a face. He's kind of a tweener, but by that same point, he's wrestling heels, so he's kind of a face. But so now I also wrote, I said, if you wanted to improve on that segment, what would be better? So then, of course, he ignores the second part of my tweet and just rips into I didn't say anything about COVID and I didn't say anything about Bray Wyatt, so it didn't make sense for you to say this. I was like, yeah, I get you didn't, but most fans are. I was speaking in generalities. Did you see the second part? No answer, of course. So then he lays out this whole thing. And his idea was like, Sting should have came out and he should have shook hands with, should have had a stare down with The Undertaker. Why? Why is everybody so obsessed with Sting and Undertaker never had a match? It's a fantasy wrestling wet dream. That's what it is. They have no... Yes, 100% Andy Ruiz. It would have been way too overbooked. But they have no history. Sting and Undertaker have zero history within those characters. Sting and The Undertaker have never met face-to-face on the, and him with a tombstone, like he said. See, I look, King Kaido, if that's the way you would have liked it, that's fine. I get it. We have differencing of opinion. In my opinion, I just don't believe that anybody... I don't think the Undertaker I think the Undertaker went out the right way. I don't think I think the business owes Undertaker more than Undertaker owes the business to go out on his back. That's just my opinion. But, so anyway, I'm in the middle of, him, tearing me apart. And I was like, look, I'm speaking in generalities. So then he picks up this whole list. He's like, Sting should come down. And like I said, Sting versus The Undertaker is a wet dream. They've had no interaction within those two, when either one of those guys were the characters. That's it. There's no interaction. So why is everybody so obsessed with having Sting come out? That's one. Two, Sting isn't under WWE contract. So they would have had to, get Sting to go there. Three, what if Sting can't travel right now? What if he's in California, and he can't travel? What if he's not willing to travel? You can't fantasy book things and get mad at WWE and do things when you don't know if Sting was even asked. And even if he was asked, maybe he said no. So I hate that automatically. That always pisses me off. They should have just got this person to do this. Oh, yeah, because at the snap of their fingers, they can make everything that they want happen. Come on. Yeah, True Sinister, absolutely. I said that. I actually even said that on Twitter. I think one of you guys actually tweeted me about Sting versus Taker, and I even said the only way that I would have liked for it to happen was when they were both in their prime. When Sting went to TNA, the dream for the Undertaker Sting match for me really kind of died. So for me personally, I was like, that's it. Sting is because Sting still had an impact. But once after TNA was done, that was it. EJK, look, I get it. There's a lot of people who want Undertaker to retire early, but if he really retired early, we would have never got the Boneyard match, and I love that. It's one of my favorite Boneyard, one of my favorite matches of the year. So True Sinister, I didn't mind that. Like, if you were gonna have Flair mentor somebody, Ziggler would have been good. I don't like that they chose The Miz. I think they could have chose somebody better, but I was fine with that. So now, the other idea that this guy had was the entire roster should have came out and they should have clapped for him and did the whole thank you Taker thing. Yeah, in the middle of a pandemic. Let's get the entire WWE roster, Raw and SmackDown together, out on the stage, shoulder to shoulder. Yeah, you're a genius. And then some other moron chimes in. Oh, no, they're not, backstage and stuff like that all together. Moron. If you read anything on the internet, if you listen to any podcast that any WWE superstar is doing, they are all in the back wearing masks. They are all social distanced. You can't do that on a rampway. And that's the hypocrisy of wrestling fans. And I guarantee these morons that are saying this would have been the first people who were ripping into WWE for not taking precautions during COVID. And here we are in the middle of COVID, and people are mad that everybody didn't walk out and go like this. That's what you want? That would have made Undertaker's retirement so much better. 50 people coming out on a ramp and going like this? Come on. I mean, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And you get to a point where you're, as a wrestling fan, you have to deal with these toxic wrestling fans at all times. And you're on Twitter and these people say these stupid things and then fire back at you. And of course, what happens? Instead of sticking to everything else, they go into personal insults because they have absolutely no knowledge of how to argue. They just want to make fun of you. So go ahead. He may make fun of me because I wear glasses. Make fun of me because in my profile picture on Twitter. That's fine. It shows me that you don't know how to argue with anybody, and that you know your argument is wrong, and you have no defense. So, but that's just the way it is. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. People in my household don't understand when I do things like this, so I have to tell them not to talk to me. And look, I agree with you, True Sinister. I think TNA made a lot of WWE wrestlers look great. They really did well with guys like Christian. They did well with a lot of Jeff Hardy. They did really well with. They dropped the ball on some Booker T, Ken Anderson. But, for the most part, the Dudleys, I think they booked the Dudleys really well. So, why don't WWE hire more former wrestlers who are great at promos to teach mic classes? Like, why don't they get Ric Flair or Steve Austin? So, I mean, they had Dusty in that role. The thing is that Austin and Flair might not want to do it. I mean, look, I agree. They should have a promo coach, and they should have a better promo coach. But I think promos in general in WWE have improved. I think they're doing more bullet point stuff than they are scripting out every word. And I think that's better. And yeah, Andy, I was going to say, you just mentioned that Undertaker's going to do it. And that's great because Undertaker cuts great promos. Undertaker's best promos were when he wasn't even the Undertaker's, when he was Big Evil and was just allowed to be himself. He was great. Jay Marshall, see, here's the thing. I don't understand why they did that, especially because Christian really benefited from his time in TNA. Booker T, I kind of get a little bit, but Christian shouldn't have. They booked Christian great. And True Sinister, yes, 100%. He did pass the torch, to Roman as much as he possibly could. Kurt Angle, Kevin Nash, Rhino, yeah, AI, that's a great point. In my opinion, so many wrestlers who are great in the ring just need a little help with the basics of cutting a good promo. And also the WWE and other wrestling companies need to start playing to the strengths of people. Shap, what's up, man? Look, I don't blame you for not using Twitter because it really is a toxic place. So we're going to get back there in a second. They should start playing the strengths. And if guys can't cut good, long promos, keep it short. You can have a cool character that doesn't, say much. Look, I'm not saying Ryback was the greatest wrestler in the world, but he got over by using 3 words, and that's all he needed. He still got over. You can't argue about the fact that the guy got over. So they just need to figure out more things for guys who are lackluster in that, in that department, and utilize managers more. Yeah, no, absolutely. The promos are getting so much better. And Roman's great. Remember how everyone was like, Roman couldn't cut a promo to save his life. Now look at him. He's cutting great promos. They just wouldn't ever let him be himself. And now that he's him, he's great. And that's all I've been saying. And look, I tweeted this earlier. You guys know it. I've been on Dave's live streams for now, I think about 3 years we've been doing it. And every single time from day one until now, I keep saying over and over and over and over and over again, Roman Reigns is the guy. He has box office potential. He's going to be the biggest guy in WWE. They just have to learn how to book him better. And now look what they did. They finally did it the right way. And look, everybody loves Roman. And I said it from the beginning. You guys, most of you guys have been there since, for the whole time on Dave's streams. I said it from the beginning. The second Roman turns heel, all wrestling fans who hated him are going to fall in love with him and they're going to start cheering him. And I guarantee you that if we were in the era where we were allowed to have fans in the arena, I guarantee Roman would be getting cheers right now. This may be an unpopular opinion. Ministry version is my favorite. I don't know. I liked all of Undertaker's. I had a dream about going to Undertaker's house last night. I saw beating up. We was over the paranoid the aliens. He was extremely weird dream. That's a little weird, EJK. I don't have a favorite Undertaker version. I liked all of them. Like, and Jay Marshall, if you like the Biker Taker, I think his promos were really great there. I know Dave hates a Biker Taker, but I mean, Dave doesn't like a lot of things. Paradox is going to sound nonsensical, but you don't have to be a great on the mic to do a great promo. It's about the right content. Yes, 100% true, Stan. So look, there are guys who are terrible promos that have probably cut great promos. You know, it is what it is. It just depends on how you interact. Like, you could have a guy like Ryback who wasn't a good promo, but if he said "feed me more," everybody got behind it. That's it. You just got to play to everybody's strengths. I like Roman now. A lot of people do, Andy. And that's the thing. I've been saying it forever that everybody was going to automatically like Roman as soon as he turned heel. And there we go. And King Kaito, you did. A lot of people did say he needed to turn heel. I never thought that they really needed to turn him heel. But I think that if he could be a face right now and be doing the exact same shtick and still be fine. They just needed to find Roman and let Roman be a little bit more of himself. He needs to be cocky. He needs to be that, arrogant guy because he is on top. And I would have played into fans not liking him. Like, hey, you don't have to love me, you don't have to hate me, but you have to respect me. And I like that version of Roman. And if we would have gotten that babyface Roman and he wouldn't have been, he wouldn't have gotten the leukemia and he would have been okay and he wouldn't have had to take all that time off, I think that's the Roman we would have got. Probably need multiple promo coaches for different wrestling characters. No, 100% Shap. I'm actually with you on that. I think that there should be guys who teach baby faces, guys who teach heels. Taker should, deal a little bit more in characters that are a little bit more supernatural. You can have guys like Flair to deal with guys who are more along the lines of, the chicken shit heel character. You know what I mean? Roman Reigns feels like that cool heel you want to cheer for. Of course, he's been that guy the entire time. Just everybody didn't want him because they decided that Daniel Bryan didn't get a shot when he got one the year before. And I like that, Kaito. I really do, man. It's awesome. Like, it's one of those things where I'm looking at Roman and I'm like, damn, that's awesome. Like, he just looks so comfortable. They can be very immature, unfair, and stubborn about things he's wrong about. Look, True Sinister, here's the thing. I don't think he's immature or stubborn. I think he has his opinions, and you're not going to sway him on his opinions. And that's fine, because let's face it, there's a lot of opinions you're not going to sway me on either. I think we all have that in us. I think Dave is very fair, though. I think that Dave sometimes gets a little bit too defensive on things that he's hyper, he's hyper, like high on or hyper low on, and that's fine. But that's the way he feels. I'll never tell Dave that he's allowed to feel one way or the other. I don't think he's immature about it, though. I just think he's steadfast about his opinions. I think we all should be. Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to agree. Look, me and Dave do our shows together every week, and we don't agree. We disagree more than we do agree. We yell at each other. But after the show's over, I'm like, hey, buddy, great show. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. You can disagree, and you could, with things that he says, and that's fine. Love all these versions of Taker. My favorite, 98, 2009, 2017. What I think I agree, EJK. Mick Foley is Bray's much more like Mick, in my opinion, but that's me. Teaming up with Seth and Roman again, those guys together on the stage of their careers would be amazing. Yeah, if Roman wasn't world champion, if he gets out of that world, once he loses the belt, I'd love to see him and Rollins team back up again for a little bit. I don't know how to explain why, but Roman coming back to the cancer, feuding with Drew the first time, all that was uninteresting to me. It felt like Roman wasn't really back. See, here's the thing. It's funny because a lot of people were like, Andy Ruiz, Dave, it's Dave's channel. I can't, I asked him to unban you. I did my part. Right. It's Shap. I completely agree. That's the right way to be about it. Look, here's the thing. I think it's funny that a lot of people were like, Roman was so boring when he came back. Guys, that's because he wasn't in the title picture. He wasn't being put at the top of the card. He was made to be just another guy on the roster, and he's not that. Roman has never been just another guy. He has always been the guy. And it's very weird when you see him in this mid-card, like feud with Eric Rowan, because it doesn't make any sense. Now, Roman comes back, he gets put in the title picture, and everybody's taking notice. Everybody wanted him out of the title picture, and once he was out, everybody was like, damn, the guy needs to be back in the title picture. It's not the opinion, but it's the way he goes about it. And look, he can. True Sinister, you got to understand one thing about about Dave. Dave is, and the same thing about me. We are personalities. If we were just very, nice and just very, very, like didn't get upset or anything like that, it wouldn't be as entertaining of a stream. So sometimes both of us go a little bit further. Guys, I'll be honest. There are things that I've blown a gasket over on Dave's stream that I argued very harshly for. That halfway through, I was like, "Why am I arguing this? It's stupid." But we're here to entertain you guys. So yeah, sometimes maybe the way he goes about it is a little weird. But you got to understand, he's also trying to be entertaining at the same time as putting out his own opinions. True Sinister, look, sometimes I am. Like sometimes I am, and sometimes I'm not. Look, there are a lot of guys that I start crap with on Dave's live stream on Mondays because I don't like toxic smarks. So I'm gonna rip into people when they disagree with me about certain things if they're gonna be toxic about it. Understand is why did Drew lose to Orton and Hell in a Cell to win it back a few weeks later, and still lose to Drew? I think it was the pad at Orton's numbers, Jay Marshall. I really do. What's up, Degenerate? How are you, buddy? I really think it's the pad Orton's numbers, and I also think it was to make Orton back to being that legitimate threat. I think that if Edge comes back and Orton has just been like doing this whole legend killer gimmick since he's been gone, nobody's gonna care as much. But now that he's won the title and he's in a space where he's a little bit taken more seriously, I think that's the reason why they did it. So here's the thing. I don't think Dave is petty. I think he's, like I said, I just think he's entertaining. I'm okay with Roman and Seth doing a 2-man power trip. That would be cool. Right, and that's the thing, King Kaido. Look, I make this joke all the time. Hold on, I gotta put on a light because it's getting dark in here. I had my lights off all day because I hate the idea of I hate having lights on. I'm very weird like that, but it's the beginning of a day, but it's a rainy day in New York, so opening my curtains wouldn't really give me enough light to see for you guys to see me. Right, Shap, and that's the thing, and it's the same thing here. You guys you might like my opinions, but if I was very bland and just talked like this the whole time and had the entire time we did this stream, I was just kind of talking like this. Yeah, I mean, I like Roman Reigns a lot. He's really cool. No, I don't think technical wrestling is the greatest thing in the history of the world. I really think that technical wrestling has its place and there should be more stories told. That's boring, guys. You know what I mean? So you're not here just to hear my opinions. You're here because, hopefully you guys are entertained by me. And that's the idea. So sometimes if Dave and I come off a little bit weird or, a little bit, whatever, or it seems like we're a little over the top, it's because we're trying to entertain you guys. Make no mistake, I like Dave and disagree with you too. You compare Luger to Hogan, for God's sake. You're right. I'm so sorry. Hogan's nowhere near as good as Luger ever was. Hey, Degenerate, listen. This is the worst Thanksgiving I'll probably ever have. It's just me, my parents, and my girlfriend. I'm missing both of my sisters. I'm missing my sister's kids. It's not an easy day for a lot of people because of everything that's going on. So just, I don't want to get on a soapbox here, but I'll just real quick, please, guys, just whatever is asked of you guys, please just do. Look, if you guys don't like masks, if you guys don't disagree with social distancing, all that kind of stuff, just wear a mask. Don't try not to be around a whole bunch of people and try to be safe because I want to see my family for Christmas this year. And, Staten Island is in an orange zone and people aren't allowed to travel here right now. So, you know, it's rough to have the holidays, without my immediate family around me. So, yeah, just try to be as good as you guys can. And let's get this thing over with. So hopefully this vaccine works and we can all go back to normal. And I can go back to sitting next to Dave and doing our shows on Mondays rather than Skyping from my house. And that's ultimately going to help the channel. So, and you guys will get more content. Hey, Albert, what are your thoughts on The Undertaker and his, hey, listen, Andy, look, I'll talk to Dave again about unbanning you. I don't remember the reason why he did, but I'll talk to him again to see what I can do, but I can't promise anything. Hey, Albert, what are your thoughts on The Undertaker and his Ministry of Darkness faction? Okay, so Ben Espinosa, as weird as it sounds, I was a huge corporate ministry fan. I know that's a very weird thing to be a fan of. And as a matter of fact, one thing that I will be trying to do pretty soon on this channel, I'm hoping that in either December at one point, because I'm going to take some time off from work for a little bit to get my my mental health back and everything like that, which is another reason why I haven't been streaming as much. There's been a lot of personal things that I've been dealing with. It's nothing too bad. I'm okay, guys. Don't worry. But it's it is what it is. So it's been a little bit hard, but I'm gonna try to take some time off. I want to also build I want to build another display for my figures, and I want to do a tour of my room and all my figure displays. And I know that's something that Harry's been asking me to do for a while, and I want to do that soon too. But I have a full blown corporate ministry section of my in my collection. We're just missing Midian, and hopefully now that he was at the Undertaker's retirement thing, hopefully they can get him and Henry to sign Legends contracts, and they can start making figures of them. Man, he still has his reasons. Who's calling me? Oh, my girlfriend's calling me. See, this is what happens when I do things and I don't tell you. Dave unban you and cool, but to me, it's not complaining. Look, I'll like I said, I'll ask. Yeah, EJK. Let me tell you, I don't know if we've actually. Yeah, we definitely did some in January and probably February. I think that once the place that we recorded everything closed, we that's when we started doing everything via Skype. And yeah, that's been for the past like 8-9 months. So it's been crazy. This year's been pretty crazy that, I haven't been in the same room with Dave for almost a full year. Like that's how crazy this year has been. I almost wasn't in the same room as my grandmother. She came up here last week, which is why I didn't get to stream last week because, COVID. It is what it is. But hopefully we're going to be getting that rectified soon. So yeah. But yeah, so that's, it is what it is. Like I said, it's a lot of it's about personality. But guys, just keep your eyes peeled because I'm going to try to really do a little bit more. Oh, Shap. Here's the thing. I love Daniel Bryan, but when Daniel Bryan got hurt and it looked like he wasn't going to be able to wrestle for, maybe ever again, when he came back, I was still huge on Bryan, but I didn't need to see a main event WrestleMania 2 years in a row. It's, you can't build, and that's the thing that I always disagreed with about Bryan winning the Royal Rumble the year he came back. Is it a good story? Sure. Is Daniel Bryan in the top 10 of my favorite wrestlers of all time? Yes. But it still doesn't mean, and Roman's not, by the way. I know that everybody probably thinks that Roman's like in like my top 10. He's probably not even in my top 20. I like Roman a lot, but Roman made sense. They built him the entire year. They put things in place to make Roman look like the guy, the Survivor Series, the Royal Rumble eliminations, the Survivor Series eliminations the year before. They made Roman look like the guy. So it made sense. The fans forced Bryan's push, and that main event run hurt him badly and physically. See, true sinister, they did, but he deserved it at that time. It was the year when he came back that made no sense to me. Like, Bryan should win the Rumble. No, if you book an underdog to win the Royal Rumble and main event WrestleMania 2 years in a row, he's not an underdog anymore. And that's the constant complaint that everybody made about John Cena. oh, they're trying to make a guy who's a 15-time world heavyweight champion an underdog. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't make sense. It's stupid. It's the same thing as always. And look, the thing is that Bryan, Hogan, Cena, they all, they all know how to get sympathy. They all knew how to get sympathy from the crowd, and it's great, and it makes it seem like it's, like that what they're doing is better. But by that same point, when you look at a guy like Daniel Bryan, he's a lot smaller than Cena. He's a lot smaller than Hogan. We know he's definitely this guy who's an underdog. It's hard to see me believing that a guy who is, 5'9", 5'10", 198 pounds, win a Royal Rumble. It's hard for me. And it was hard for me to believe that a guy like Shawn could win the Royal Rumble. And perception is reality. Shawn seems bigger. Sometimes he was booked to be bigger than he was, and he is bigger than Bryan. But, seeing him the second time just didn't make sense to me. You want to make him an underdog? Make him an underdog. But you can't make him an underdog by going to WrestleMania 2 years in a row. That's not an underdog. That's a guy who's consistently getting a push. They are mad that unlike Cena, Hogan, or Roman, Bryan never won a Rumble. Who cares? Jericho never won a Rumble. I'm not mad about it, and Jericho's my favorite wrestler of all time. I don't like that whole thing. Like, I can't believe, look, this guy deserves to win the Royal Rumble. He's done everything else. So what? WWE was built on the concept of a Superman babyface. And of course it was, Ron. Absolutely it was. 100% it was. And that's what Vince always wanted. And he has, Drew in that role right now. But Drew seems a little bit more real than some other people do. And I think that's why Drew's doing well. Oh, and King Kaito, yes, 100%. There absolutely are. Bryan did it. Bryan didn't win the Rumble. Remember, he wasn't in the Rumble the year that he got the main event slot. Batista won that Rumble. Of course there are. But, the thing is that he didn't need to main event WrestleMania. If they wanted him to win the world title, I can understand that. But let him come back and get into a story. And that's the thing. I hate, the whole thing. Roman Reigns is forced down our throats. John Cena is forced down our throats. But Daniel Bryan wouldn't be forced down your throats if you main evented the WrestleMania 2 years in a row. That doesn't count as being forced down your throat. Alexa Bliss having a women's championship on every major pay-per-view for almost 2 years straight isn't shoving her down your throat. AJ Styles holding the World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Championship, the most prestigious heavyweight championship in history in the WWE, in the history of wrestling, wasn't forcing him down your throat. Everybody's going to sit there and say, well, no, because he didn't do this and didn't do that. You can't make up rules. You can't say that Roman was forced down your throat when he wasn't in, when he was the U.S. champion for almost a full year, and everybody was getting mad he was forced down our throats. Doesn't make sense, Another thing I don't get is people complaining Jericho never won the Money in the Bank because he invented it. I mean, you should give Money in the Bank to people that need it, not just they did something. Exactly. And that makes it even better. I like the fact, and Jericho probably sees the irony in it too. I invented this match, and of course they didn't book me to win it. It's funner. It's more fun that way, man. It's so much more fun because every year you're going to be like, well, Jericho's going to win it. He invented it, of course. And he never does. Shoving down our throat means we are getting something that that people didn't want, not just that they are overexposed. See, I don't agree with that. Force down our throats equals my favorite guy isn't being pushed like this. Like, for example, we had Kofi Mania. Yeah, exactly. That was perfect. He didn't win the Royal Rumble. That was a great example of somebody getting a world title shot that, may or may not have deserved it. And look, the concept of this doesn't make any sense to me. Wait, just a thought. Why don't we have WWE World Title and a Wrestling World Title, and then those champs would take turns main eventing pay-per-views? EJK, I mean, that wouldn't be bad, but I mean, who's to then say that a guy like Roman wouldn't be able to, then you have to put people into very specific boxes, and I don't like that. I don't like the fact that you can only challenge for a certain, like, if you're going to tell me you can only challenge for your brand's world title, great, but you can't tell me that you, like, well, I'm more of a wrestler, so I can choose, I'm going to go after this title. You know what I mean? I don't know how well that would work out. And Andy Ruiz 100%. That's exactly what it is. The thing is this. I never liked the idea of people, using the concept of force down our throats. The thing is that Cena was over. And everybody wanted him to be where he was. Then all of a sudden, he started getting, he started getting big. And then, he started getting pushed and he started beating people that, were legends, because that's how you build a new superstar. But people weren't ready to see those legends take a backseat to anybody. And that's why Cena started getting booed. But you can't say he got pushed on our throats when you were, the fans were standing up, cheering, going nuts for him. Make this guy the guy. He's the best thing going on in WWE. And then you turn your back on him. It's hard to go from one extreme to the other. The pure X Division titles. Ron Hawthorne, I could see that. That's, that would be cool. But they can also really turn one of their mid-card titles into something like that and just book it that way for a little while, Andy Ruiz, it would be a cool job, but a lot of that has to do with people who have been ex-wrestlers. So good luck, because that might be trouble for you getting into. But and Shap, I agree with your, with what you're saying, but by that same point, like I said, I don't like putting everybody in neat specific boxes. But yeah, that's the whole thing about. Being forced down our throats is a concept. It's not, there's no definition to it. It's the way people feel. But it's weird to me that people can sit there and say Roman Reigns being world champion for a year is forcing him down our throats. AJ Styles being world champion for a year isn't. That doesn't make any sense to me. They're both being forced down your throat. You're just more accepting of one than the other because of your fandom. The concept of it, of them specifically giving you one major face and putting him as the face of a brand, because AJ Styles was the house that AJ Styles built, the champ that runs the camp, the face that runs the place. You know what I mean? That's what AJ Styles was. He was the face of that brand. So yeah, they were shoving him down your throats. If you really want to get technical, it was just more digestible to certain wrestling fans because AJ Styles worked on the indies. With Roman, it wasn't acceptable because he didn't work on the indies, and people for some reason felt like he didn't deserve it, which doesn't make any sense because Bray didn't have an extensive work on the indies, and nobody complains about that. Ziggler didn't have work on the indies. Nobody complains about that. There are a lot of guys who weren't indie darlings before they came to WWE, and people give a pass to. But Roman just seemed to be, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. People didn't want another Cena. They saw Roman as being the next, heir apparent to John Cena's role. And I think people decided that at that point they didn't want to see, that ever again. So they turned their back on Reigns. But what is the Cena hate too early? The Cena hate, what do you mean by too early? Or why is the Cena hate too early? Look, the thing with Cena for me, I think, was just a lot of people were just mad about him getting put over guys like Shawn, Triple H, Angle, Jericho, people that everybody wanted to still see as, still saw as top tier main event guys, and Cena kept beating all of them. And everybody was like, well, we're tired of seeing this guy being the only guy who wins. But how do you build a major star if you don't put him over your old stars? In the 80s, you didn't really do that because babyfaces never fought babyfaces. And it was very rare that you saw like a mainstream babyface like Bruno Sammartino or Bob Backlund turn heel. Backlund didn't turn heel until he came back into WWE, years and years later. So it was very hard to see that, but then, look at a guy like Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels got his world title shot by getting got his world title by being put over by the guy, Bret Hart. You know what I mean? Like that's the way wrestling works. If you're an established star, you put over the guy who's going to be the next big star. And that's what they wanted to do. And the Cena hate started, and Degenerate, right around, somewhere around 2006, Cena was hot as anything. I think most fans, I'll even put myself into the group, are hypocritical. Ken Kaito, I think we all have that side. Look, I say this all the time. I know that you guys never got to see this side of me, but I was a mark. I was a mark for a very long time. I hated John Cena. I went to live shows. I booed all the baby faces. I cheered all the heels. I was a mark to the fullest. And it was John Cena and the way that John Cena was treated and me realizing how good for the business John Cena was and how much work he put in and how much of a better wrestler he was and how little credit he was getting that made me actually realize, why am I being so hard on this guy? It's not his fault. He's doing everything he's being asked to do, and he's doing it well. And Cena puts over a lot more guys than he got credit for, and Cena had a lot better matches than he got credit for. People just didn't like Cena because they wanted to see other guys instead of John Cena. And, I understand that you want to see your people pushed, but, that doesn't mean that they're going to draw as well as Cena did. And look, I know Dave will be the guy who would argue with me and say, well, the ratings went down and Cena didn't draw, blah, 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 blah. But that's also a changing landscape and wrestling becoming, in my opinion, more of a niche product. I don't think it's mainstream anymore. I think that after the mainstream fans left, I don't think it'll ever be mainstream ever again. I don't think they have a guy to make it mainstream. I think that, and Shap, yes, 100%. That's one of the highlights of Cena's career, but in my opinion. But I think that even if The Rock comes back and puts over Roman, that's not going to give them mainstream appeal. I don't think wrestling will ever be mainstream ever again. I don't think we'll see, ratings outside, like the highest ratings I think we'll ever see are like in the 3s. And I think outside of that, we're never going to see that again. AEW can't get that far, and AEW is trying to give wrestling fans all they want. WWE can't get that far, and they're trying to give sports entertainment fans what they, all that they want. They're not getting there because I don't think that fan base exists anymore. I don't think people care about wrestling as much as they used to anymore. And I think that people are, in a way, if you're not a wrestling fan, you don't like wrestling. In the 90s, especially, wrestling was damn near as big as football. Oh, yeah. I mean, Monday Night Football and WWE, Monday Night Raw were getting very similar ratings at one point. Smarks don't really do anything for the business. Degenerate, they hurt the business. And Dave, says this all the time. He's like, why do you believe anything that's read online? I'm not saying I do. Why do you argue with people online? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But the difference is, and I say this all the time, if you're a kid and you just get into wrestling and, you want to talk to wrestling fans, the place that you do it is Facebook and Twitter. That's where you talk to wrestling fans now because, there aren't many people that are, normal wrestling fans that you meet, out in public a lot anymore. If you're in school, you don't meet a lot of guys that are, huge wrestling fans anymore. So you do it in an online community. And if most of that online community is a toxic cesspool of people that do nothing but complain and bury WWE, you're going to become jaded, and that's going to be your mindset because that's what everybody else is saying. You're going to look at stuff that you enjoyed and be like, oh, well, yeah, I do like Roman, but like I see where these people are coming. He is always pushed at the top. And now that's going to make you a jaded wrestling fan and sway you over to that side. And that's what makes wrestling niche. I'm sorry, but it does. It doesn't. They don't help the business. They hurt it. And Degenerate, look, if you don't care about wrestling anymore, that's great. But you're still here, and you're still here to support me, and I very much appreciate that. I also like the Gift of the God side on Lucha Underground. It was a combination of King of the Ring, Money in the Bank, except which kept the mid-card relevant. I agree, Ron Hawthorne. I think almost everything that Lucha Underground did was gold. Wrestling isn't cool anymore, and WWE, mainly Vince, isn't interested in making larger-than-life stars again. No, because WWE doesn't need larger-than-life stars because they're going to – it's all about their brand. And when their brand sells out WrestleMania without announcing every single year without announcing one match, their opinion is they don't need major stars because why would you need it? Their brand is selling everything that they want. And you can't argue with success. Financially, they're right there. They're the best – they're the most financially successful wrestling company ever. I really don't, but it was a very delusional thing. Of course they do. I really think I like wrestling because of the stuff outside of wrestling as well as inside. And King Kaito, if that's the way you are, that's cool. Look, I don't do anything else but listen to freaking wrestling podcasts when I'm in my car. I played drums my entire life. I love music. I'm such a music fan, but I barely listen to music anymore because I listen to wrestling podcasts. The outside business portion of wrestling always interested me, but I'm also not going to make it my be-all, end-all. I'm not going to believe morons like Meltzer and Alvarez who are pieces of shit in real life and, have their own agendas and take everything they say as fact. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm also not going to take guys who I do respect, like Eric Bischoff and Bruce Pritchard and and all those guys, the podcasts that I listen to, and believe every word that comes out of their mouths because they have agendas too, whether they want to admit it or not. Bischoff doesn't work for any company, but of course he still has an agenda. Everybody does. Pritchard works for WWE. It's hard for him to criticize a company that he works for. The problem occurs when you discuss on social media is when you realize how much of a toxic cesspool of hate. Yes, 100% Shop. It's the worst. The worst. Absolutely the worst. And yes, Andy Ruiz, AEW is not making wrestling cool. They're not. And they're making wrestling cool to wrestling fans, but that doesn't make wrestling cool to everybody. You don't really know what's been going on in wrestling since the summer. Can someone fill me in? Roman Reigns is awesome. Drew McIntyre is the man. The Fiend has really been great, and AEW's been on some great matches. That's it. Like, I love wrestlers talking about their favorite matches and what makes them be wrestlers. And seeing King Kaido, I like that. I also love that, the fact that whenever you see like people on Twitter, like wrestlers on Twitter, they're so supportive of each other. You see like especially the women, which I love the camaraderie. Like you see like women who aren't even in the same company always liking other people's tweets and stuff like that. And it's, to me, I love that. That's great. I think that's the best thing, the best thing for the business. And then you see wrestling fans ripping into wrestlers for, supporting their, fellow wrestlers. Like, do you not see how much of a set of dicks that you are? What a bunch of morons. WWE Storytime is the only show I watch on the network. I mean, I watch NXT. AEW is a niche audience with the niche, within a niche audience. They're only cool to their circle of fans. Yes. Did someone say Lucha Underground? EJK, listen. Lucha Underground to me was one of the coolest things to watch. Ever. I really wish it was still on Netflix. Is in Attitude Era, they made casuals watch. That's what AEW is cool to watch. It's what AEW is not doing. Yes, I agree. I don't think WWE is either. All right, guys. I've been on for an hour. It's 1:40. I got to jump in the shower. My girlfriend's just texted me and said she's on her way, and I missed her call, so she's probably thinking, what the hell's going on here? And, I don't tell anybody. I just decided to jump on. Look, guys, the main reason, one of the things that made me happy was former NXT wrestlers who were invaded by NXT and SmackDown, like taking me back trips. No, I agree with that. I like that too. Lucha Underground is available on Tubi. Well, I'm going to look into that, Ron Hawthorne, because I'd love to go back from the beginning and watch it again. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. But most of all, thank you, every single one of you. I tweeted this, but I wanted to come out here and say it personally. Thank each and every one of you. Whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching it later, whether you're not watching it at all, but if you subscribe to this channel, thank you. I am truly, truly grateful for each and every one of you. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you who celebrate. Please be safe. Please be careful and enjoy your holiday. I love each and every one of you. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you guys soon.